Perfect. This goes there. And we've got Hershey's milk chocolate bars. Is what I'm using. Hey, don't use store-bought or store-brand generic chocolate. It tastes horrible. I've used a variation on the almonds, sliced, slivered, pulverized in a food processor. The texture is not as good as using whole almonds, pounding them just a bit, both in the toffee mixture and to sprinkle on top. Now when you search for whole almonds, there's roasted, unsalted, there's raw, and there's roasted and salted. In this recipe, I've used roasted unsalted. And you'll see the difference in the color of the almonds between raw almonds and roasted almonds. So I like that the roasted almonds are more brown inside and out than the unroasted. You can also, if you already have unroasted whole almonds, roast them yourself in the oven. I love this recipe because it is super easy. Nothing fancy, but very delicious. You can decorate this with gold flakes if you want to get fancy. You can let the toffee cool on its own, break it in pieces, and then coat it with melted chocolate all over and almonds on the outside. But the benefits to using this recipe and this method is it makes it so easy and it's still so delicious. We'll let these few pieces melt and start to spread. Okay, so it needs another minute before we actually spread this chocolate all over. Okay, and that just melts. Now this sheet pan is half a sheet pan. I don't know, maybe 11 by 15 or 11 by 17. You do not have to grease it, butter it, or what have you. There's enough butter in this toffee. Once it completely cools, it will pop right off, and you can snap this into as many large or small pieces as you want. Okay, so I'm taking my time, but here we go. All right. Just some extra chocolate. No need to waste. Now here are my almonds. That's a big piece. Okay, see they're a little darker or brown. We'll just sprinkle that right on. These things look so pretty once they're done. If you time this properly, the toffee part, you can score it before it sets so that when you are ready to break apart the candy, it will break at the score lines. And this is a cup of almonds, same unsalted, roasted almonds. And you notice they are bigger chunks of almonds than what you would find coated on the real almond roca. We'll let this set for about 5 minutes, and then I'll lay a sheet of parchment paper. You can probably use wax paper if you don't have parchment paper, and then run a spatula or your hand over it just to press the almonds into the chocolate. You want to take your sheet of paper. My parchment paper happened to be wider than the sheet pan, so if you don't have parchment paper, you could probably use wax paper. Cake spatula, just running lightly over here. If you don't press the almonds into the chocolate, you'll have a lot of almonds fall off. Or you can use your hands. I use 6 bars of Hershey's milk chocolate, the ones you can buy at the grocery store. And with this size of a pan, it gives me just the right thickness of chocolate. And there you go. Now I've made the almond roca before where the chocolate was just too thick on top of the toffee. We'll let this sit in a cold room, or you can put it in your refrigerator if you need to cool it off quickly. You'll notice, if you can see here, the edges, or if you go back on the video, the toffee is quite dark. When you put it in the fridge and as it cools, it's going to lighten quite a bit. When you're ready to serve the toffee, take it out of the fridge and let it come to room temperature. It'll start to regain its color. Alright, we'll let this set for a while and we'll be back. This has been in the fridge for about 3.5 to 4 hours. You can see how light this has changed, the color of the toffee. But it pulls apart from the pan fairly easily, and then you just break these into pieces. If you listen for the snap. Okay, now I don't care to eat this right out of the fridge because the texture and the taste isn't the same as if you would let the candy come to room temperature 30 minutes to an hour, and it will darken over time. You can see how clean the pan is. This is so delicious. Alright, I'm going to continue to break apart the rest of the candy and let it come to room temperature. Then I will have myself some very delicious homemade almond roca. Here's a close-up shot of how gorgeous this looks. And what I really wanted to share with you was how delicious it tastes. There is nothing as good as toffee, almonds, and chocolate. You have to try this recipe.